That's the dance, the only one I know. We're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a nice way to start this jamming. Woohoo!
Exactly.
Facebook, we don't have no rights for this music, but we sure do. Woohoo! Happy Saturday, everyone.
Alexa, stop. That's what we need, an attorney on the show. Where's Matt Newton when you need him? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Ponducid. Today is May the 9th already. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. So all the mothers, we will definitely be saluting you as to the show today. Today is our 77th show. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. But not sure why. But welcome to Coffee and Ponducid. I'm Christian Cano. And it is cold. You would not believe that it's May the 9th. I think we have a frost warning tonight. Can you believe that? That is, I guess we have to put our plants away or do something really spectacular. So as we do on every Coffee and Ponducid show, let's go around the panel and introduce yourself and introduce if you have a button or an imaginary button. While you're doing that, that allows me to share us on Facebook Live, and those who will be joining us later on YouTube and also on Facebook as well. Once again, once we are able to get past phase 1 and get into phase 2, and we are able to do this show with each other around the table, we will also be broadcasting on Instagram and Twitter, I believe is the other one. I don't know anything about TikTok. So, all right, let's go. Who wants to, I'm trying to look at the screens. So does anyone know where everyone is at?
Yeah, I know where
I'm at. Same here.
All right. All right. So introduce yourself while I share.
Hi, my name is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. We're supposed to pick us, Cano.
Ruth,
like we do
Rachel,
the normal show.
Jenny,
you always
Dr.
say
B, Maya.
I'll start to my right because she's always right.
That's right. That's right.
I am Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, a community advocate for the LGBT community. I represent Charlotte Pride for the Real Out Film Festival. I'm a coordinator, and I'm also a coordinator for Transgender Pride for Charlotte Pride. And I'm a board member of the National Organization of Women. I also really pull for guns. Moms demand action for gun sense laws, and a hardcore advocate for Medicare for all. It's time. We need sustainability. Ruth?
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. This is Mama Ruth Perez, a community advocate here. And my imaginary buttons, the ones that I carry in my heart deeply inside, are Medicare for all, gun sense, and of course, I just want this to be over with, the coronavirus. I mean, there's no button to take that away, but let's imagine that it's gonna go away. It's a pleasure to be here. Today's Saturday. I'm kind of sleepy and cold, but hey, I'm still alive, and that's all that matters. Welcome, y'all. Next, Rachel.
Oh, it's me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm Rachel Brummert. I work for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and I'm a local filmmaker. My primary button is the COVID virus going away, just like Ruth said, because I actually had it, and I would love to see this disappear forever. So I'm like a walking, I think I'm a walking button.
I'm George Bahmfalk. I'm a retired physician, and my button, as always, is for Medicare for all. I think that would just solve an enormous number of our problems. So even though I'm not an expert in COVID or infectious diseases, I'm happy to contribute any general medical information and answer any questions people might have.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maya Wells. I should say this, but I'm still working on it. But yes, I graduated from UNC Charlotte, political science major, economics minor. Now, how peace? No idea. But I am a human rights and peace activist. I fight for those who are not able to fight for themselves. I don't need to personally know you to care about you. All I need to know is that you exist. And if you're not able to fight for yourself, that's what I'm here for. I'm an Iranian American, and I was a keynote speaker on Charlotte and Asheville's events on No War with Iran. knowing the consequences. If I were to go back to Iran, I didn't care. All I cared was that people understood that my family and the people of Iran are recognized as human beings in our community as well. And Medicare for all. Woo!
Excellent. Well, my goodness, we've got a really diverse, great group here. And I want to thank everyone. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Mama Ruth, Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, and Jeff Scott, who is on hiatus, I believe, for another couple more weeks. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We're going to be talking about the stay-at-home order, if it did save lives, which I think that's a loaded question. Yes, I think it did, but we'll ask everyone here. And also what phase 1 means. And we also want to talk about the new antibody test, I believe it has come out with certain doctors and certain hospital systems. So who wants to start? And how do you?
I guess we should do a salute.
Oh, I forgot. Thank you, Jenny.
All
right. Yes, everyone, please salute Coffee and Ponduce if you have your coffee cup with you. The virtual reality has I should turn mine off. There we go. Salute everyone. And also we do want to salute Manolo's Bakery, who's our Ponduce sponsor. This is a concha, a Mexican pastry that is left over from Cinco de Mayo.
I want to wish Manolo a happy birthday. Yesterday was his birthday, so wish him a big, big, big best of luck.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, happy birthday, Manolo. And don't forget, Manolo's Bakery is on Central Avenue. It's immigrant owned. It is a small business that needs all of our support. Tamales, tres leche cakes, all kinds of wonderful stuff that you can get there. Please visit Manolo's Bakery. So with that said,
I'm not that lucky with your Manolo Bakery. I have bruschettas, chocolate chip bruschetta today because I don't have no Manolo Bakery.
Where is that from? Harris Teeter, or where is that from?
No, from Aldi, but it's
Food Lion, or
Aldi's, but it's the
Aldi's. Oh, I did want to tell y'all. I have been trying. All of us have been probably trying new recipes at home and cooking and stuff like that. So I have been making banana nut bread. You can't really see it, and they're in the shapes of conchas. And I can't wait to see all of y'all so I can give all of y'all a banana nut bread.
I don't mind driving by and picking up on the doorstep.
No one's stopping us.
Just set it out on the porch, babe.
Yep.
Yes.
Hang it right there in the front.
I'll swing by and grab Ruth for her too.
Yes,
that's
please
right.
let me know, Jenny.
I love the energy in this chat. I'm so
Well,
we talked about
that's only virtual. Imagine physically all together.
Oh, it's the Thunderdome when we're all together. It is very interesting.
It is. This is a PG-13 show. However, what are the words that you use?
Sometimes it becomes rated R.
What I describe what goes on in the show? It's chicanery and fuckery.
That's right. Oh, okay. With that said, let's talk about some very serious topics. Let's talk about the stay-at-home order. And the question, of course, is stay-at-home order, did it save lives? Who would like to start? Maya?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, I would ask, what kind of lives did it save? Mm-hmm. Because unfortunately, as everyone knows in this chat and beyond, those who don't have the resources and the basic necessities that we all should have as, human rights, unfortunately, they're the most vulnerable. I can't imagine what they're going through, whether they're homeless or victims of human trafficking. And I can't imagine how their lives have changed, been impacted. And so, yeah, whenever someone asks about the stay-at-home order, if it worked, if it helped, I would be the one to ask, who did it help?
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as the cases still go up, and as long as homelessness and human trafficking continue to be issues, I'd still question, who did it help? Because if no one is going to look out for them, who will?
Mm-hmm.
So
We have a question in the audience, and that's from Janice
Okay.
Covington. She's agreeing. I mean, she says, of course, it saves lives at the homeowner, but then she's asking what kind of lives.
Mhm.
And I think that answers Maya's opinion, because that it makes sense. I mean, of course,
That's-
what kind?
That's a very good point, Maya. And yeah, let Dr. B, please.
Yeah, I just read this morning. It's just astonishing what people can say to either justify or make their kind of point. And I don't even want to know who's saying this, but I think it's some state representatives in some of these with these meat packing plants. And they were saying, well, I don't think it's the meat packing plants that are causing all these cases to spread. I think it's the fact that all these workers live in such close confinement and so many people in a home. And it's like, that's their fault. They live in close confinement because they're being paid a subsistence wage. And, you know, to sit there and blame the problem on the victims is kind of what Maya was saying. It's just so frustrating.
And you know, that's the thing, like when you don't have the money and the power, it's easy
Exactly.
for you to be placed in as, you know, the one who's guilty.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Maya's exactly right.
Jenny, do you want to jump in?
And I think what COVID revealed is the major flaws when you put that much of a stress on society. It's like a stress test. My roommate is a mechanical engineer, and he opens up power plants and remodels power plants, and so they do these different stress tests to see if they did everything right and if the power plant will even turn on. And you know, the COVID is like that. It showed us that we have glaring lack of equitable distribution in our society, such as Medicare for all, Social Security for all, so many things that if we'd had a UBI, a universal basic income, and we had Medicare for all, would we be scrambling for resources? Would we have already cured our homeless challenges? There's so many challenges that we have in our society because of a lack of a top-down distribution that's mandated as a safety net to give people the basic human needs. That as the wealthiest society in the world, we have purposeful poverty in our society, which I think is criminal. I mean, you know, the economy is still at over $22 trillion GMP a year. We should have no homeless people. We should have nobody going without health care, none whatsoever.
Yeah, these are decisions, aren't they? Yeah.
They're purposeful. I mean, you know, our leadership is Democrat and Republican are mindful from the fact that we can spend $6.4 trillion on war, like in the 9/11 wars for profit, but when we need a few $100 billion to help our citizens, it's our money. This is literally our money, and they're going, oh, well, wait a minute, you know, the people don't need, you know, we'll throw them a little bit here, a little bit there, and we hope they make it. And so I wonder how many homeless people we're going to create out of this situation, or chronically homeless.
You know, when you speak about homeless, and I hear what's going on with the homeless and stuff, I identify myself as well with our Latino immigrant families, because they're also invisible. They don't have no rights. They don't have much. I found out yesterday a whole family, the entire family at a household, end up with COVID, and they couldn't get treated. They couldn't get prevented or get tested, at least for the first one. So it got contagious to the entire family. And it's very, very heartbreaking knowing that they don't have any help from nowhere.
And, you know, if it's one issue I struggle with as a human rights and peace activist is how do you get people to care about people you don't personally know? Like, it's easy for all of us because we have empathy. We don't need to be paid to give a damn. But unfortunately, in our country, we've been conditioned to believe so many messed up things that does not define us as individuals. And I'm just waiting for when we're going to strike, really. You know?
Let's hear from a person who's actually lived with COVID-19 and is recovered. What, from your perspective, Rachel, do you feel, I guess it's kind of a loaded question for me to ask that question. I mean, who's going to say no? Well, I don't know. Maybe someone will. Rachel?
What was the question? It was about the stay-home order.
Did stay-at-home order save lives?
I mean, I think if you ask that as a general question, I think it does, because I mean, this was not taken very seriously at first. A lot of people got sick when they didn't need to. So I think overall, but it also, it also brings in the question for the people who don't have resources. Like, I do have resources, but I also had a hard time getting tested at first because the criteria was just so different. Like, I had not traveled out of the country. I didn't knowingly come in contact with someone. I found out later that I did, but at the time when I got tested, I had not knowingly come in contact with anybody. So that is a loaded question, because there are so many people that don't have the resources. But I think if you're asking it as a general question, I think, yeah, most definitely it did save lives.
I don't know if you guys remember, but right when we started doing this, the Zoom, because of the stay-at-home order, right after was it March 19th, whatever that week, March 17th week, which was my anniversary, by the way. That's how I remember that. I remember saying that the stay-at-home orders seem to be something that is only talking to the privileged, because it's basically saying work from home, stay at home, and I remember going, well, someone like me or other people are going, okay, yeah, we can do that. But people who actually have to physically clock in, physically clock out, it wasn't even talking to them at all. So I completely agree.
I'm in the middle of that though, because I generally do work from home, but I am a U.S. federal employee, furloughed right now. I am not getting paid. So, I don't have to clock in and clock out kind of thing.
Yeah.
I am out of work because of this.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because what Maya said, and I'm almost ashamed a little bit because she has kind of brought me back into what I said 6 weeks ago, that this stay-at-home order is only going to be benefiting the privileged, the people that can actually stay home, people who have access to a primary care physician and say, do I need to get tested? No, that's okay. Stay at home, do virtual things like we're doing right now. And as the weeks have gone by, I have, not purposely, but I have almost forgotten about what I said earlier. And it's been more like, okay, well, we're safe. I'm safe. It's a great job. It's a great job. And I guess not to defend people who have forgotten about our marginalized individuals, I can see how easy it is to forget about them in a crisis, in a pandemic, because you're thinking about yourself and your family. And it's hard enough to think about yourself and your family. To think about the others is even hard. So when I do see those people who say, you know what, they need to worry about themselves. They need to, I've got enough on my plate to worry about. I can see how easy it is, because I just had an aha. Maya just kind of brought me back to what we said 6 weeks ago.
But I think that's the whole point. I think because our society has such a short attention span, I don't think it's just pure selfishness. I think it is that if we don't see it on a daily basis, it's not in the top of the mind. And her whole point is, how do we create the awareness enough to get actual action, that next step that says, okay, finally, we need to end these conversations.
Sure.
We need to end these conversations about race relations and actually do something about it and change these institutions.
We have other two comments here.
Ooh.
Okay.
One of them, it says our health department wants to confine and track the low income. And the second one, the same person says, I have seen groves of people ignore the order and drink beer together on porches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have the other side, which is the protest side that doesn't give a damn,
and notice the group of them. It's white people, and they're Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Maya, we call them the "You're Not the Boss of Me" group. So it is.
The boss.
And at the same time, we start seeing that they also get caught and they also get infected of the COVID, but they don't want to recognize it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how they don't really care, and that shows us that they don't really care. They're becoming like, how those what happened in 9/11. I deserve to die for my God. I deserve to die for my Trump. You know, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I believe there was a picture I posted on my Facebook that compared Colin Kaepernick kneeling to the
Yeah.
reopen protesters, or
Yes.
the reopen protesters, or the
Mhm.
people who were in the Michigan governor's office, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah. So a question, and this may be a tough question. No one has to answer this. Is going into phase 1 and phase 2, phase 3 almost socially? I don't know how to word this now, but is it those of us who have not traveled to the west and east side as much as we have in the past because of the stay at home? Do we almost need to get out to see what we're talking about again? Is that
I don't
no?
think
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I saw Dr.
Well,
B automatically. Please.
I'm not exactly sure what you meant by do we need to get out to see? Do you
Sure.
explain that a little bit?
Well, as far as those of us who try to be socially aware of things, and then because we're not out there seeing, as Jenny said, or even as Rachel, we're not seeing that hurt firsthand, we tend to maybe forget about it.
Oh, I see.
Do we need to re-see it again so that way we can, our
Well.
social justice juices can come
Yeah,
back?
Not without defying orders, though. It's just not, it's
Sure.
not safe right now. And more people are going to get sick because they're defying these orders. I mean, if you saw a video of, people going into malls yesterday, like,
Mhm.
I would hope that we have someone that looks out for the people that we care about.
Mhm.
I just don't know a safe way of doing that yet.
And I believe Jenny mentioned this before, but along these lines at least. But in our capitalist system, unfortunately, human value equates to market value.
Mhm.
So if the market, and look at the stock market, it's great, but we're not great. So we all know it's not a reflection of how the health of our community, of our economy, and the fact that we've, again, been conditioned to believe otherwise is why people, predominantly white men, who are privileged and financially comfortable, see that we need to go back into our economy now.
Mhm.
And blame this whole thing on China, the Wuhan,
Yeah.
and
I guess they're trying to cover up by them thinking, okay, they reopened the malls, they reopened the stores. Let me go. I'm wealthy. I'm okay. I haven't gotten sick. Let me help the economy. Let me go and invest. Let me go and purchase things and
Sure.
buy stuff to cover up and not feel guilty about the ones that are really dying, the ones that are really suffering.
Well, speaking of a white rich man, let's get Dr. B into.
Ouch.
How was that one, Jenny?
That was a home run.
Man.
Christian, you're too kind.
Dr. B, if you were given a
He's too kind and insulting me in this enormous, vast public that are watching this.
I did say you have great hair.
Okay, I have a surprise for you. Okay, we want to get this close up, and we want to really see this well. My wife said to be sure and show this to you. This is my great hair. Okay.
Oh, hey, that's
No, this is what it looks like in the morning when I get up. It's like a wild man. She thinks she got in Borneo or something. No, it's totally crazy.
That's what we call good hair.
Oh, well, I don't know. It gets out of control.
Totally not jealous.
Yeah. Anyway, so you were insulting me, and was there a question associated with that?
Someone just commented and said, get off the privilege thing.
Yeah.
Dr. B, you have some comments you want to make?
Well, avoiding your slur on my demographic. But no, obviously I am very privileged and always have been. And I worked hard, but nonetheless, a lot of people work hard. So this thing about trying to get empathy for the folks, for the have-nots, I'm afraid that a drive around to the east and the west side, they're going to change anybody's mind. I'm not an expert in empathy, but it has to come from a much more personal kind of level. Sure. I'm afraid even if people have their yard men and their housemaids and the people that wash their cars, even if they all get sick and die, it's going to be, well, hey, it had to happen. So I don't know that there's a way to prompt folks to open up and be empathetic to the have-nots. It's the struggle that we've been fighting ever since, one guy had a bigger cave than the other. That's a tough problem. But I don't think that we need to get people to drive around more. I still think that everybody who can needs to kind of stay pretty close to home. Has the stay-at-home saved lives? Probably, yeah. But everybody forgets that this flattening the curve. If you look at the area under the curve, whether it's a big tall curve or a slow, flat one, it's kind of the same number of people under there. They're just spread out more. And another one of those memes that kind of went around said, flattening the curve doesn't mean this is all okay. That means that now there's an ICU bed open for you, if you get sick, rather than you kind of dying in the emergency room or at home or something like that because the hospitals are overwhelmed. So it probably has saved lives. It's also drawing things out a little bit more, giving us more time, hopefully, to come up with a treatment or a vaccine, but that ain't going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And that's what people get so patient with. People, most human beings are by nature impatient. And in a lot of respects, that's good. It leads to a lot of progress. But the scientists are impatient to get some treatments developed. But unfortunately, the general masses are impatient for everything to go back to normal and be able to go to restaurants and be in crowds and go to football games. And man, oh man, I just don't see that coming for a good long while.
Oh gosh, yeah, I read. Excuse me, I read it.
I think the reason I really wanted to ask the question was because we are in phase 1 now that started at 5 p.m. yesterday, and as Jenny, our expert on, there's not that much different between phase 1 and what we were on, right? Is that right, Jenny?
Right.
Or
that's right.
There's a couple of things different.
If you lay the quarantine stay-at-home order in phase 1, it essentially opened up a few retail avenues, but no nightlife, no dining in. The stuff that was the highest risk behaviors are still off the table. I watched the press conference for Governor Cooper and the experts from the state. I think it was yesterday. And they were very clear that, this is a small baby step. It allows a little bit more freedom in public spaces like parks, allows smaller retail deals. It also limits, even though malls can open, you have to go and shop with an intention rather than just walking around the mall. The idea is to test the waters. One, probably because of political pressure, and two, I do think that in some people's minds they're going to go, can we do this? Can we move to a phase 2? Can we be responsible? Because we can also look at Taiwan. They did no quarantine, but they were also experts as a country in social distancing, and they had a minimal amount of cases. But they've dealt with SARS, they've dealt with MERS, they've dealt with all these deals, and they know everybody there wears masks. They all know how to social distance. So they're just a more disciplined society than Americans are. And if we would learn to be first adopters instead of waiting to see the rest of the world and be more proactive, quarantines are a result of our society not being smart about how we manage ourselves and how we manage our resources. We're the only developed nation in Western society that doesn't have universal health care.
Right.
So, if you go interview somebody on the streets of England and they find out that we have to pay $600-800 for an EpiPen, they're just like, you guys must just have to die. You don't have resources.
Yeah.
So this again comes down to distribution of resources. It's about working smart, not hard, and put empathy to the side for a minute.
Sure.
And it's just practicality. It's about defending our nation. It's about uplifting our nation. I mean, Medicare for all is a national defense. It's a societal and infrastructure thing. It's
And UBI.
What was that, Maya?
And UBI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. UBI is a necessity. I mean, so much so that Hawaii recognized that, and they have a statewide UBI.
Sure.
and they realized that with all the foreign investment that was in Hawaii, especially from island Japan, that the rank and file worker, they had so much working poor there that they passed their own statewide UBI, and they have also state health care for everybody. So they recognize this, and they have the resources to do it, like all of our states do. And it's time. It's time to actually protect the people that can't protect themselves. It's a utility.
I would also say that, I mean, although yes, we are a developed country and we claim to be the wealthiest, we all know we rank last on some of the most important issues: education, healthcare, infrastructure. And we have to look at other developed countries and see how they're doing, like New Zealand, and how they're able to recover because of how tight their stay-at-home order have been.
It is, Maya, that you made a great point. I know Rachel may want to jump in. I'm sure she had her hand up there, but it is so hard. Your generation, I'm assuming you're what?
22.
Millennial. Are you millennial or are you the one after millennial? Which one are
I
you?
am 22 years old, so I'm having a moment.
Let's just say you're millennial.
Okay.
Well, Generation Xers, who I am, and above, there's this feeling, this culture, and I'm sure Dr. B can speak to this, and everyone else, I think we'll see. For some reason, we hate to look at other countries. If it's not our idea, it's, so when we say things like, well, look at Canada, look at Germany, look at so-and-so, there's something embedded in us that goes, well, why do I want to look at them? We're Americans. We know what it's so hard for us to admit that there may be some better options. Now, millennials and younger, they seem to have that ability to be able to look past, look at we invented the term, what's the term? Think outside the box, but yet we don't do it.
Right.
And so I hear exactly what you're saying, but Dr. B and Jenny and other people know every time we talk about things like Medicare for all or whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. And we say things like, well, look at Canada. This is our limits. The first thing they say is, well, it's not America, and so I don't know how we get past that.
That's the problem.
Other than just,
we listen to people like Maya, who, seems more educated about these things than us, so we look to Maya's generation and learn a lot.
But you got to keep in mind, money doesn't make it doesn't make you immune. It's you got to keep in mind that it's not only how well educated are we or what position we are sitting at. It's human. It's a virus. Anybody can get it.
Right. Yeah.
Dr. B,
on this thing about the whole kind of America first and best thing, I'm not a student of this, and this is probably an oversimplification, but as a boomer, it's easy for me to kind of think, this probably relates to the effects of World War II. We kind of came out of that as a superpower, and what did we think about anything for Japan? It was junk, the little toys, and we kind of ridiculed anything for Japan. And then what happened in the 60s or something, our automobile market absolutely tanked. And what did we do? We looked to Toyota and Honda to kind of show us, well, what are you guys doing that we're not doing? We had these old ways with all sorts of entrenched inefficiencies and problems. And so it came down to the almighty dollar that we opened our minds to a foreign idea. And I'm afraid maybe we're kind of stuck in the same thing with so many other things, including healthcare, as everybody just kind of said. The amusing thing, I think it's just kind of hilarious, is that the Taiwan Medicare for All plan that came along in the 90s was designed by a Harvard health policy expert. It's like, so we know how to do this. We tell other countries how to do it, but then everybody's like, oh, we don't want to do it. So it's just kind of nonsense. And maybe the after effects of the pandemic I mean, I just read an article in the New York Times this morning about how the healthcare industry is taking a hit right now.
Mhm.
Usually
Yep.
it's been recession proof and, everybody needs it and everybody has healthcare insurance. Well, now they don't, and nobody's
Yep.
getting elective surgery. So, a lot of, non-infectious disease physicians are hurting right now because everybody's afraid to go to the doctor, and hospitals are really kind of hurting.
Mhm.
So it may be that this is going to be kind of the blow that wakes people up and say, by golly, we need to do something. Let's talk to those Toyota and Honda people and see if they've got some
Yeah.
ideas. But the ideas are there. There's bills in Congress, as we've talked about many times.
Mhm.
They're there. It's just the matter of, okay, when are folks going
Well-
to finally accept the need to get it done and move along and do it, dispense with this old
What does the
idea.
term "okay boomer" mean?
What
Should
as one on the receiving end of that, I learned that it means, okay, you old people, we don't need to pay attention to you anymore. Let us young Gen X, Y, Z millennial folks, you kind of get out of the way with your outdated ideas. I love it. I think it's charming.
Listen, listen, in my defense, it is nothing personal to you guys. You are not the problem. It's just, unfortunately, there's a whole chunk of your
It's a generation.
yeah,
Right.
that perpetuates all these problems going
Mhm.
on. And
Yeah.
we're like, okay, boomer, whatever.
Yeah, get out of the way. Yeah,
Well, and I think
I would say the archetypical boomer is probably McConnell. Okay,
yeah.
so it's like, come on, accept that we need to do something. We need to take care of the underprivileged. We need to take a look. Market-based capitalism is not providing solutions, and do something. So I'm fully on with that.
Well, in capitalism, we're a mixed economy of socialism and capitalism. So in classical terms, we are a mixed economy. But one of the biggest things is that when we've always had a need before, like, again, I always go back to the 1930s and President Roosevelt, and he identified an issue, which was that for us to go into the modern era, to the 20th century, we needed electrification. We needed our entire country to be linked by a standard of utilities. And we need to think of this the same way. So Medicare is a utility. It's a basic human need that provides proper national defense, a proper economy, a proper deal. And the UBI the same way. It's a floor that actually uplifts us and keeps us at a stable deal. If you don't have a stable foundation of which your country is built on, you get into fighting for resources. Well, I don't care if I get it. I love the resources. I love the benefits from the government, but I don't want that person over there that looks different than me not to get it. And so if everybody has it and everybody has an opportunity to access it freely, then we get less of that. But when people are scrambling, it's kind of like if you're growing up, if you had any siblings, and if one sibling got something that the other one didn't, oh, here we go. And so we have had such a divide in this country, especially with the violence and the lack of resources that we have. We've started fighting each other, and we have to, our governments have to rethink how they're doing this, and it is their fault. Our leaders in Washington, D.C. have not been representing us properly, and they need to change this mentality by not letting people fight against each other.
Yeah. And, when you mentioned, Jenny, when you mentioned that, in regards to our capitalist system, being a mixed economy, and you mentioned socialism, I'd question socialism for who?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
yeah. And
You must watch this
You're
show.
only 22?
I'm sorry?
You're only 22?
Yes. And did
She
I
is-
look
Lord, you're amazing, girl.
I
I-
aim to be the next AOC for our state. So yes, thank you.
Well, and that's a great point, Maya. We have socialized medicine for seniors. It's called Medicare.
Mhm.
We have socialized medicine through the VA system for retired military and people that serve, like my dad, that's a retired officer. So he has Medicare. He actually has access to 3 systems, all paid for by the government. He has the VA. He has Champus or TRICARE, whatever they call it now. And then he also has access to the regular Medicare. And so So certain classes we go, oh, that's great because and what it comes down to is they deserve it. They earned it. The seniors earned it. The military earned it. They served our country. And that again is going, those people over there, they didn't earn it, but I earned it just because I did this, this, or this. And that again is the divide. That is the mentality I do. And there's a thing in Texas that if your parents served in the military,
You get free tuition.
You get free tuition, for example, in a Texas public university. And, it's like, why don't we just have that for everybody? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like mental health is a huge problem in our country for so many reasons. And the fact that not a lot of people can afford to seek mental health care causes them to be in all kinds of unfortunate situations that's not within their control. And I mean, again, like as a human rights and peace activist, I struggle a lot with how to get people to care about people you don't know. Because we've been conditioned to only worry about us and buckle up by your bootstraps. And, if you're homeless and a Walmart employee, that's your fault. And, you all know this as well. The more involved you choose to be, the more open mind you choose to have, they're wrong. And it sucks.
So you see, Dr. B and the boomers, there is hope. We have a generation of young activists and young advocates that I have a lot of faith in. I really do believe that, I don't know, I'm a half glass kind of full. So speaking of half glass kind of fulls, I don't know if y'all heard me, I'm having a lot of technical difficulties. What does okay boomer mean? Does anyone know what that means?
It means like, okay, whatever boomer.
Oh, is it sarcasm?
Maya explained it.
Okay, well, because after Dr. B said what he said, I was going to say, okay, boomer. And then I realized that might be an insult.
But it's kind of flippant, it's kind of, I think it started on the TikTok. Us old people, we don't really know what that TikTok is, but it's just one of those things. And I think, again, even that speaks to the divide. We've got millennials calling out boomers. We got boomers rolling their eyes and protesting, in Raleigh and in Michigan and all that. Yeah. And there's a problem. Instead of sitting down and virtually talking about these things and going, okay, why are we having these reactions? Yeah. To speak to Maya's point about mental health care, I think there's a lot of people in government that probably need some serious therapy, and really analyze what we're projecting as a society. Do we want to be known as the toddlers with handguns running all around the world blowing things up? Or do we really want to truly be great, which is taking care of our own people, taking care of our people from the top down and saying, these are what we need to fix. Let's set about this path and fix it. And we have the money to do it. We don't have a money problem at all.
Yeah. And, sorry.
No, please go ahead, Maya, because we need to switch to testing.
Yeah. And, our Federal Reserve just chucked out, that's not the right choice of words, but just took out $3 or $4 trillion, and Medicare for all would cost $3 trillion over 10 years. Yeah. So when someone brings up the malarkey argument of how we're going to pay for it, I will generally question them. If they're going to ask me that, then let's not claim to be the wealthiest nation in the world. We're a developed country for a reason.
My observation is that anybody who, if you're talking about Medicare for all, and if their first question is how we're going to pay for it, that's basically a signal that they totally disagree, and that's kind of the little detail they're going to try to peck away on. Because we can explain, as Jenny said, we can explain how we're going to pay for it. It's easy. We can't afford, we can't pay for what we're doing now. So that's a specious argument, and just take that as a signal for they're not open to anything else you're going to kind of say about it if they're going to harp on cost.
Very good points, y'all. And
about testing.
I do want to jump in there just very quickly about testing. I know that there have been some reports this week, and maybe Dr. B, you can speak to this, about a new test that is out. And I don't know if everyone has different tests. I know LabCorp, for an example, I think they're based here in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. They have a test that they can test the antibodies in your blood. Is that something that we can do now?
Yeah. And we always have been able to. One analogy might be like if there's a fire, can you hear? Yeah. If there's a fire in your house, the smoke detector detects particles in the smoke. That tells you if there's a fire going on. 2 weeks later, the arson people come in and there's no smoke, is there? So the smoke detector is worthless. They look for other kind of evidence. They look for ashes and embers and signs like that. Same thing. If you have coronavirus, like more and more people seem to be getting in the White House these days, and you're not sick, they can do a test for what's called the antigen. They can test for virus particles, and they can see if you've got active virus hanging around your nose or throat. Then a couple of weeks later, you might have had it and you might have recovered, and there's no more virus particles around, just like the smoke detector. You can't see that. In the meantime, your body has reacted to those antigens, to those particles, and it has developed some antibodies. And that's kind of what we all have after our polio vaccinations and measles, and even after you get a cold, you develop some antibodies, but with the cold virus, they just hang around for, I don't know, a few weeks or a couple of months at best. So the antibody are a natural, consistent development after any type of viral infection.
Well, it is, but the only thing about these tests, the antibody tests for COVID, are not accurate, and that is my.
Okay, well, I was going to get to that. So,
Right.
so there's basically two kinds of tests: the early test for antigens and the after you've had it test for antibodies to kind of see. The problem is that the federal government kind of opened the gates and kind of said, oh, anybody that has a antibody test, well, probably somebody at a student laboratory at one of the local colleges could probably devise themselves an antibody test. Now, it might not be very reliable. And
No,
right now,
they
yeah,
are.
and so there's a whole bunch of them that are turning out not to be reliable.
Yeah,
even
well, they're also
even the
being
best
fast-
ones are even the best ones are only about 95% reliable. And so, when you get every little Tom, Dick, and Harry laboratory kind of come up because they can make a bunch of money on this, but it's not past FDA requirements of success, of efficacy. Well, yeah, as Rachel said, you're left with a bunch of bum tests that are around. So,
well, and they're
hard to
being
know.
fast tracked too through
Yeah,
the.
exactly.
And fast tracking is not the innovation that everybody thinks it is. It is companies paying the FDA money to go over a review, to fast track through the FDA, whether it's accurate or not. It's it's asking questions later. And so, like, I'm an employee of the Food and Drug Administration, and I see this all the time. They're rushing for innovation. They're rushing to do the next thing, but they're not. If they're not accurate, you're not getting accurate numbers. And that's the thing that I'm so afraid of right now with these antibody tests, is that we're going to have inaccurate numbers and we're not going to know how to combat anything.
Yeah. Well, the double, coming down the line, double problem to that too, is that Fauci and all these guys who are the good, solid scientists on this, they don't know the answer to, even if you have antibodies, what does that mean? How, like the common cold, are these antibodies just going to stick around for a couple months, or are they going to stick with us permanently, like polio and smallpox and things like that?
I mean, it could answer questions in terms of how to develop a vaccine for it, but I mean, aside from that, it doesn't give you a whole lot of data.
Right, exactly.
Well, that was, sorry to interrupt y'all, that was the question I'm asking, because when I got that email on Thursday from LabCorp, and LabCorp, they do the testing for my doctor, who she is now with Tryon Medical Group. She broke off from Atrium. And the reason I was curious was because if I go out, because your natural instinct is, oh, I just want to see if I've had it. And if I do that and Blue Cross pays for that, does that mean I can't get any more testing? So it's almost like, do you waste your money? Or I don't know how that's going to work, because your natural instinct now is, well, let me just go ahead and just get tested every week just to see if I've gotten it, or I don't know how, and so I'm wondering, maybe I should wait before I get that test, or if I do it now, do I have to pay $100 later on? So it's almost like whoever comes out with this test first is going to get all the insurance payments, and then you're going to have to be scrambling for getting it later.
Right.
So anyway, that was
I would think unless there's a compelling reason for you to kind of know, like healthcare workers who've kind of had it, they need to know, am I maybe immune so I can go back to work? That'd be great. The rest of us, if we just have idle curiosity about it, first of all, it's probably not reliable. and I wouldn't waste your money.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in? We don't have that much time left. I do just want to talk about who may be on our show Wednesday or next Saturday. Mama Ruth, you look very comfortable there.
I am listening, learning. I don't even worry about testing or non-testing because I'm staying at home. So
Good for you.
Sure.
This thing is no
See,
joke,
you're the
seriously.
privileged. You're one of the privileged
I
minorities,
might
right?
not listen. I'm not privileged. I might not have insurance. I might not have work. I might not have my money, but I do have rice and beans, and I'm okay with that.
There you
But
go.
I'd rather stay home.
Rice and
do
beans
think-
and pan dulce.
I
Exactly.
do think unless you are an essential worker or
Yeah, I
somebody
know.
has to be, working for the city or a establishment that is open.
Yeah.
No,
Honestly,
even in the city, some of their workers are working from home.
anybody,
Mhm.
unless it's like a boots on the street type deal, like
Yeah.
a police
Correct.
officer, ambulance driver,
Like
trash
here in Union
pickup.
County, we are finally getting our bulk pickup starting next week.
Oh,
They stopped
Okay.
doing the bulk pickup on the trash and all that, so we're finally getting it back, which was not a big deal. We all kind of understood. We didn't have no crazy protesters like reopen whatever. We think it's good. I mean, if we have to take care of each other and help each other in a better way, we'll do it.
But I really do think if people don't need to rush into medical offices
Yeah.
for non-essential things, and if you're feeling fine, you don't need to get tested just to be tested.
Now, just imagine, Pastor, I don't know if y'all know Pastor Rusty Price from Caminos Community Center. His niece,
Mhm.
his youngest niece, got involved in a car accident 2 days ago, and she was airlifted. She suffered brain damage, having so many surgeries. She's all broken. Her limbs are having difficulties, and no one of the family is allowed to be around her inside the hospital. Thanks to everybody that is not paying attention, not following orders, and they're
Mhm.
keeping our hospitals overpacked.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I have we have a family member, my sister-in-law's mom just passed away 2 days ago. And I think they're going to have to wait on services, family services, until it's a safer time. As you can tell from my background, my virtual background, it's warp speed now to get towards ending the show.
That's Star Wars.
Yeah, that is Star Wars, the warp speed. I don't know what Star Trek, Star Wars. It's all the same to me. One of the things that I do want to say, Barbara Bacon was trying to join us, but of course everyone knows she has a new laptop and she was having a difficult time.
And she's not a millennial.
She's having a hard time coming in, coming out. And if she was joining us, one of the things that she would want to say is thank you for the city of Charlotte for finally picking up the shrubs off these streets. Mine were picked up on Thursday, and I was so excited. I have my thank you city worker sign out there, and I was like waving at him, like, what's this crazy guy doing in here? And then Barbara texted me yesterday and said that they had picked hers up yesterday. So thank you for the hard.
You and Barbara sound like my husband. My husband is in love with our trash picker guy. Every Friday, he's out there waiting for him, giving them tips, helping them load up. Because
So do
sometimes
I.
we have extra trash bags
Yeah.
that they don't fit in our bucket. So he's there helping them, like putting them up and gives them tips. And, I'm like, Dan, that's good. I mean, I'm sure he enjoys coming by.
I think it has something to do, when you're little and you see the fire truck and you're like, oh, a fire truck, or you see a truck driving around and I'm outside going, oh, look at this big cool thing with the arm picking everything up.
My son wants me to put a basket out there with cold water on a daily basis for our Amazon delivery and our mailman guy. He's like, Mom, they work so hard, they deserve to have a little treat. I'm like, oh, that's so cute.
That is very sweet. You're raising a very gentle and kind and loving son. Thank you for doing that. So on that note, I want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, Mama Ruth, happy Mother's Day, all the other mothers, Jenny, Happy Mother's Day.
Hey, Jenny, you have a dog or a cat, you're a mama, so
No,
Oh, I
she's
have-
she's
happy
got some
Mother's
wonderful.
Day.
I have
she's-
3 kids.
Yeah, she's
Yes,
Happy
she's got
Mother's
3
Day.
kids.
Yeah.
Everyone else, happy Mother's Day. And I was raised by a single dad, so we actually celebrate Mother's Day, but we give the presents to my dad. So he gets a celebration. But just, everyone just have a wonderful, safe a couple of days. It's going to be cold. Bring your plants closer to the house. I sound like the weatherman at WCNC. Larry Sprinkle.
I feel bad for my
Closer to the house.
crops. I dig outside. I did a little, what is it? I don't know what it's
Garden?
called. Well, no, vegetable garden in the back.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
bring those plants inside my house now. I don't know what I'm gonna
No,
do.
you could. However, if you water them today, later on in the day, they will absorb the water and they're less likely to get frostbite or frost or whatever if it does frost in your area. I learned that on
Okay.
WCNC Weather School yesterday at 1 o'clock.
Do
So
you think I have
I
to
just
put
thought I
like
would-
plastic over it? Do I need to put like a bag or?
he said, be very careful putting plastic. You can only put plastic over it if it's not sunny. Only if it's cloudy, because if you put plastic over it and it's sunny, it can burn the plant.
Well, no,
Yeah.
at night, like if it gets too cold.
Girl, I
No,
don't know. I'm
you
just-
water it.
I don't know. We need a garden
what-
show.
Yeah, what was that, Jenny?
Right before a frost, you want to make sure that they're wet. The water
Yes.
actually holds in the warmth of the plant.
Yes.
So like orange orchards in like Florida, for example, they'll hose down all the orange trees.
Yes.
And it actually does protect them. It will preserve the fruit and the health of the plant.
Okay, so very, very quickly in 30 seconds, Jenny, tell us about what's going on. Real Loud is going on right now with Pride.
Charlotte Pride has Real Out going on right now. It's a self-guided movie festival. So we have our shorts films that we would have shown this May in person. So you can go on the Charlotte Pride's Facebook page. You can sign up for free, watch for free. We have a party tomorrow. That's a virtual party that you get to meet I believe some of the filmmakers. It's around 5 o'clock. I also have Barely Funny. We have a Mother's Day show tomorrow.
Yes, I've got 3 tickets I bought for Mother's. Yep.
Yes, thank you. And so tickets are still available. And we have that going on. I believe it's at 9 o'clock tomorrow night.
Okay.
So lots going on.
I've got Ruth's bell. So with that said, let's go around in 30 seconds or less. Tell us where you're going to be, and then we'll end the show. If you're on Zoom, stay on. We're going to close Facebook and stay on so I can thank you personally for being on the show. Thank you, Dr. B. Thank you, everyone. For Maya, you have been so refreshing to have on the show. It is wonderful I'm so inspired. So this is really, thank you for being on the show. All right, so if you're looking at your screen, I think the way it looks is Baby Trump, Mama Ruth, Rachel, Jenny, Dr. B, Maya, and me. I'm last. So
Everybody's is different.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So call us out.
I see Baby Trump, me, and then Rachel, and then on the second row I see Jenny, Doctor, and Maya.
So
So
Christian,
I'm next.
That's what I
I'll see y'all. I'm not gonna do much this weekend. Like I said, I'll be stuck at home. If not, maybe at a friend's house or nothing big. And just here, enjoying my family.
Okay.
I hope y'all have
Yeah,
a safe week. And that's it. See y'all Wednesday.
Yeah, same here. I'm still recovering, so I am not leaving this house for a little while.
I'm remaining in boomer isolation. We're going to do a social distance Mother's Day with our kids tomorrow evening.
Oh, excellent. Next.
It's me.
Yes.
Yes, who?
Go
Yes.
for it.
You can't say yes, okay? You've
Jenny,
got to
go
say
ahead.
your name, Christian.
Go ahead, Jenny. I'm sorry.
We'll be celebrating Mother's Day here at the house. My roommate's son, it's his birthday this weekend. So Sullivan Robinson, happy birthday, happy 8th birthday. And I'll be watching the film festival. So again, you go on Charlotte Pride Facebook page and you can check it out for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be finalizing my undergraduate work and taking some graduate pics and still asking myself, how am I physically in one piece? And continuing to bring awareness on any human rights issues that continues to worsen in our community and through social media, and wish my mom happy Mother's Day. And yeah, it's an unpromising economy. So even before COVID, I would say, and although, and you know, it's these kind of conversations that remind me how thankful I am to be as involved as I am in our community. And I really appreciate you, Christian, for inviting me and meeting all these amazing people. Even
Baby Trump pinata.
yeah, thank you. Even that, it was nice to meet him
We're
too.
going to beat him one day.
One
Oh, I
day.
have to say that. I don't want the Secret Service coming to visit me. We're not going to beat Baby Trump pinata. We're going to, I don't know how to spin that one. All
We're
right.
gonna save
I
that
want to thank
for November.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I want to thank everyone. Once again, I have the video of Dr. B dancing in the background, just to let you know he does have some moves with his hair. So thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a wonderful show. We will see you on Wednesday. What I was going to mention is the producers of the Charlotte Goes Green St. Patrick's Day Parade, the one we talked about last week, I was in contact with, and they may be on our show Wednesday or next Saturday talking about canceling when they had postponed the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And remember, we shared that may have saved lots of lives. And so they may be on our show to talk about canceling it. And I want to personally thank them for postponing it as well. And if it's going to be happening again. And so I believe the Dryer Hearts is their name. And so they may be on Wednesday or on Saturday, and it'll be their first time on Zoom. So it'll be very exciting to see how it works out. But maybe they'll be like Barbara, and we'll see them going in and out. All right, thank you. So everyone just wave. We're going to turn Facebook off, but we're going to Zoom on so I can personally thank you. Thank you very much. Ta-da.